And as a government shutdown looms, Democrats in typical fashion are wasting no time trying to spin the facts. As we heard earlier tonight, the anointed one and his liberal cronies are trying to make it seem like Republicans are only looking out for the rich, class warfare. But as my next guest writes in her latest column, people who live in fat cat-infested houses shouldn't throw stones. And joining me now to explain the Democrats' latest example of hypocrisy, none other than the author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, Culture of Corruption, Michelle Malkin, is back. Michelle, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Sean.
So people, Democrats in fat cat houses should not throw stones. Explain.
Yeah, I'm going to put that on a bumper sticker and sell it. And I think that we need to tattoo it on some of these liberal media types who go along with all of the class warfare demagoguery that the Democrats have been spewing, especially over the last week as they've ratcheted up this rhetoric to oppose any kind of fiscal sanity in Washington. And you've seen it. They have attacked Paul Ryan as some sort of corporate puppet. You've got Donna Brazile on Twitter. You've got Nancy Pelosi bemoaning how the wealthy are being served while the elderly are starving. And it begs a very important question. And the question is this. Who are the real fat cats? Who have been the ones who've been holding all of these lavish fundraisers while the basic business of government has gone undone? It's the Democrat Party. It's the flea bagger in chief himself, President Obama. And it's all of these people who have propped up the worst financial scandal in Washington's history. And that is the financial scandal of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all of these fat cat cronies who've pocketed millions in lavish compensation.
All right. There's another way to look at this, too. I live in New York. All right. So federal taxes are 40%. State taxes are 10%. I live in the second highest county property tax county in the country. So they are enormous. Sales taxes, hidden taxes. So about 60 cents of every dollar I make goes to the government in some way, shape, matter, or form. What bothers me is they accumulate their power. With all of our money, half of America doesn't pay any taxes. And then not only do they take 60 cents out of every dollar, then they take a baseball bat and beat you in the head and say you're greedy and selfish and insinuate you don't care about the poor, the elderly, the disabled, that you want grandma to eat cat food. And that bothers me because they get their power using other people's money. That's what bothers me, Michelle.
Yeah, that's right, Sean. And someday I'll have to try and convince you to move out to Colorado and lessen your
Florida,
tax burden.
where it's a little warmer, but not Colorado.
Yeah. Well, come on, you can ski out here. Seriously, of course, all of America's wealth earners and producers are the ones who are hurt most by this. And yes, it adds salt to the wounds for all of these class warfare demagogues in the Democrat Party to then turn around and use this kind of rhetoric. We don't care. We're the ones profiting, et cetera, et cetera. But what is the Fannie and Freddie, the phony and fraudy financial scandal all about? It's exactly what you're talking about. It's using taxpayer money. And by the way, we're now looking at $154 billion that's been poured down the hole on this. And then so much of it siphoned off by these greedy fat cat executives who are all politically connected. We're talking about the likes of Franklin Raines, who made off with $90 million over the course of 5 years during the time which so much of this manipulating of accounting was going on, to Jamie Garulik, Rahm Emanuel, who made off with $320,000 serving on Freddie Mac's board for a very short, brief period of time. And look, the Democrats are protecting them. And I'm calling this the Friends and Fat Cats Protection Plan. That's what it is.
True.
Just this week, the House had reform hearings. The Republicans have wanted to reform Fannie and Freddie for a long time. What did the Democrats do? They fled the scene. That's what they do.
And not only that, most economists believe we're going to have a second housing bubble. Let me give people an example. We talked about it earlier. This is Nancy Pelosi, the demagoguery, and I predict, Chuck Schumer said their strategy was to call every Republican extreme over $60 billion. Now Paul Ryan's plan, $6.2 trillion. And Nancy Pelosi, I'm sure she didn't read the bill, but of course she raced out there to say the following.
One of the bills before us, 6 million seniors are deprived of meals. Homebound seniors are deprived of meals. People ask us to find our common ground. the middle ground? Is middle ground 3 million seniors not receiving meals? I don't think so.
I view that as translation. Give us more money. We need more money. We want more programs. How do you interpret it?
Yeah, it's exactly the same way. Former Speaker Pelosi, or as she should be known now, Weaker Pelosi, has no business talking or lecturing about moral responsibility and fiscal responsibility. Certainly, she's the one who's responsible for the House failing to have a budget under her leadership. This is what she does. She hides behind human shields. She'll pick children. She'll pick seniors. And she'll use that sense of fake moral authority to avoid the tough questions, the tough crises that they've kicked the can on for decades. Bravo to the Republican leadership for having the courage to face these problems before they get even enormously worse than they already are.
Well said, Michelle Malkin. Always good to see you. Appreciate you, as always, being with us.
Thanks, Sean.